Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Happy Friday, First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you before you skate off into a holiday weekend. I'm glad that you're sparing at least a few minutes to hang out with me. We are going to be talking about traffic because already we've been experiencing slower roadways in the Saginaw area, but we'll also have a look at even some of those construction zones. So we'll be giving you an update if you are going to be headed out of town. But if you're staying in town, we are going to be talking about that forecast here in mid-Michigan and how it's going to be a beautiful one. So we are talking all things Labor Day weekend. And for the students who are about to wrap up school, they are looking forward to a little bit of a longer weekend. But for the students who are just enjoying the last few moments of summer vacation, we will even have a preview of what we can expect going into next week's forecast. I'm going to start off with a view up north in case you are going to be headed in that direction. It looks like our camera actually just froze, but now it's updated. So we are going to see there at the bridge a lot of that sunshine coming through, but as we're looking north, we do still have some cumulus clouds. So at times you might get a little bit of shade. It might be a little bit on that kind of shady side at times, but overall we are looking at beautiful conditions there. So if maybe you're going to try to still make it to the island and you're just watching us on your phone, or if you are going to be eventually headed there for the weekend, it looks beautiful. Always a fun spot to be any time of year, but of course the summer is extra special. But if you are trying to get to the bridge, well, if maybe you're taking 75, you're going to find that it is a little bit slower. So we do still have the northbound way of the Zilwaukee Bridge that is under construction, and we are finding that that is going to be slowing a lot of drivers down because that detour, as you're coming up 75 northbound, they're going to have you get off at exit 150. So that's going to be able to take you to 675, and then you'll be taking 675 through. Now, since this is pretty close to the station, actually, what we've been kind of experiencing a lot of times is that right as the traffic gets down, there's quite a few bends on 675 kind of coming through, and that typically slows folks down. But once you kind of get through a lot of the bends and then get a little bit closer towards about exit 6 on 675, we've been finding that a lot of people are able to kind of get at least moving a little bit faster. It doesn't quite get up to 70 there, but we're at least seeing that once you kind of get through those first few curves, once you're on 675, once you're past those, that's when we start to see it moving a little bit better. So just a little bit of help for folks who maybe don't have a lot of patience. I know we've also experienced a lot of folks detouring here around downtown Saginaw, and so then some of those side streets are a little bit slower too. I know I saw some cars backed up at a stoplight, and it was you had to wait a couple of cycles of that light to get through the intersection. So pack some patience if you are going to be traveling. We are going to find that it is going to be a slow go on 675, but for a lot of our roadways, thankfully across mid-Michigan, the main highways are looking pretty good here. We are, of course, seeing a couple of tricky spots at times, but at least the main highways, overall 75, 69, 127, US 10, even 23. A lot of green on here still. So that is helpful if for the majority of the trip you're rolling at posted speeds, but you are still going to run into some slow spots. And of course, if there's any accidents, we'll be watching those. It is only 2 o'clock, so we will be finding as students get out of school and also people get out of work, I anticipate seeing maybe potentially a few more slower spots. Let's zoom in here to Genesee County because we do have a little bit of a slow spot just coming there on northbound 23. This is going to be coming out of Fenton. And this is kind of a slow spot at times, even on a non-holiday weekend. We typically can see at least moving below posted speeds in that zone. Another road that we typically see is around Corunna. The Miller Road exits there on 75 coming through, but we don't have any slowdowns there yet, but we have seen them before in those locations. Thankfully, coming out of Oakland County, headed a little bit into Genesee County, we are seeing that we have green there. So that is good that we are still working through that construction there, but we are finding that so far it isn't slowing us down. Across I-69, though, you can see that folks are going just fine. I know we also have Michigan State that you're home, so if you're headed to the Lansing area for that game, thankfully I-69 is looking pretty good going westbound. As we go further north, the Thumb is in great shape. I know a lot of camping locations there, maybe people just wanting to get out on Lake Huron a little bit longer here this summer. You'll also see that we have some of our state routes that are no problems getting around, but we do still have that construction there. So again, 675 a little bit sluggish, as I had mentioned, and it even looks like it's backing up on northbound 75 even before you get to exit 150. So as you come up towards M46, it looks like some people are potentially getting off there. Thankfully, it's not too sluggish, but you are going to run into definitely some slower spots. Of course, you can still get off at exit 81 there on, or not exit 81, but M81 there on 75. But after that, you have to get off because that is where it's going to detour you around because the bridge is closed in the northbound lanes. We did have for Independence Day, we did have, or no, the bridge was open. I believe it was Memorial Day. Summer's going so fast, it's hard to keep those details together. But we are just a reminder that at least the southbound lanes, that is all done on the Zilwaukee Bridge. So that is a big help for folks who are maybe experiencing it in the other direction earlier in the summer. We are finding here the northbound is having to take its turn to get that maintenance done, but it'll be worth it. That should wrap up as we go a little bit closer towards November. I anticipate that they might even be able to get that work done. So we'll hopefully provide them with some nice weather so we can get the bridge back open. But if you are traveling further north through Bay County, looks like we're in good shape on 75. That continues all the way through West Branch, headed towards Houghton Lake, and even our state routes. If you're maybe hitting some of the campgrounds that are in between there, a lot of good green roadway showing up on the map. So a lot of us are in good shape there. As I had mentioned, if you are going to the Lansing area, so far I-69 is looking good, but you will see if you are going maybe to the Michigan State game, that Trowbridge exit and some of that for 127 and 496 are still under construction. They've been working on those projects for quite a while as well, so that can slow some folks down. It looks like 96 also has a couple of spots of yellow and orange showing, so you may run into just kind of a slower speed at times, and then you can pick right back up to that 70 miles per hour. Now in the Detroit area, we do have a couple of accidents and incidents that are being reported here, but we are going to find overall a lot of green on the map yet. But as far as the construction goes, you still are going to run into some spots. But one of the updates that we do have from MDOT is that at 3 o'clock, they are going to pull back some of the construction zones. So I believe out of 164 zones, let me pull up the data here. That they are going to be moving about 100 of those back. So yes, 100 out of 164 projects are going to be paused here for construction so that we can kind of have an easier holiday travel setup. So that's going to be pretty helpful. But some of the projects that are not going to be excluded in that, so the 64 that are still going to go, of course, that is going to include the Zilwaukee Bridge work that's going to continuing to happen, and also in Genesee County. If you head over to our website, WNEM.com, they've been working on 75 there, that stretch between Oakland and Genesee County. So there are still going to be 2 lanes that are going to remain open in both directions. So just be prepared for that. I know a lot of you have also said around the Brighton area along 23 and then 96, they're doing some construction there. That project is still going to happen. There are going to be some lane shifts in that area. So just keep in mind that you still are going to be needing to watch the road signs slowing down in those construction zones, move over. If you can. Also, if you're going maybe downstate, Washtenaw County is still also going to be seeing some construction zones that are still going to be possible. So just be prepared, pack some patience as you're headed out there. A lot of the restricted or unrestricted zones that are going to actually be pushed back, that's going to start at 3 o'clock. So we still have about a short hour before those zones are going to be lifted. Also, another reminder is that we are going to find the bridge closure again on Monday. So that is going to be for the walk that we're going to be watching for. So that time frame, I believe, is 6:30 a.m. until noon. So you'll see it on a lot of the road signs, the electronic boards. They have the info there. So just know again, the bridge is going to be closed Monday from 6:30 a.m. to noon for the bridge walk. And so you'll have to find detours. Of course, if you are walking it, know that a lot of it is recommended that you make it halfway and turn back around. So that's one of the changes that's been implemented here the last couple of years. If you do plan on walking the whole thing, they recommend that you get there right at the beginning of the walk and that you are able to make it across the entire bridge. So, and that you also have transportation on the other side, because I don't believe they have the bus service anymore. So, of course, if you are headed there, do your homework. You can go to MackinawBridge.org/walk. That is going to be a helpful site to help you get the latest info if you are going to be doing the bridge walk. So, a lot of our construction is still going to be active here, at least locally, but hopefully some of these tidbits are helpful. Of course, make sure you're slowing down, watching out for everybody. Just pack your patience. I know we all want to get there, and a lot of times it's just not worth it to have any troubles. So we just want you to all have safe travels and a little bit of fun. Now, we do still have to talk about the forecast, but it sounds like it would be a pretty good time also to take a quick break. So if you want that first alert forecast going into the weekend, we're going to have those details coming your way in about 60 seconds. And welcome back, First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips here at the First Alert Desk. I am kind of keeping an eye to our roadways here so far. I did have a question come in since we were talking about traffic, and they had asked, what does M13 look like? And thankfully, on our traffic maps, it's looking good on what I can see on my end. But of course, that is a pretty heavily traveled roadway, but so far it looks like it is moving at posted speeds, at least from the latest update that we have. So of course, those conditions can change pretty quickly, but so far we are seeing 13 to be in pretty good shape. Now, maybe you're just thinking, I'm not going to deal with the traffic. I'm going to go and head out on the water. So as we check our marine forecast, earlier this morning, we did have that small craft advisory that has been expired. That ended around 10 a.m. So we do still have, with the colder air coming in and the breeze that we do have that chance for some water spouts. But we are going to find that we have some sun and some clouds that are going to be hanging out over the water. So partly sunny skies expected. Now, water temperatures, since it has been a little bit cooler, those have dropped back a little bit. We are finding in the inner bay that we're at about 68 degrees, 66 into the outer bay. And air temperatures, of course, then by the water are going to be into the 60s. Now, wave heights in the inner bay, very much manageable, about less than 2 feet, and then about 2 to 4 in the outer bay. So you are going to find as that northerly breeze comes through, it's kind of stirring up the water a little bit. So the further out you go, you may find it's just a little bit more active. But our winds, we are finding those out of the northeast around 5 to 10 knots into the inner bay and around 10 to 15 knots into the outer bay. So we are going to continue to see hopefully some decent weather for folks that do want to get out on the water. Now, the entire weekend itself, you are going to find that we do have a pretty good forecast. Today is the cooler day with a lot of our readings that are into the 60s, and we're going to try to get up towards 67 degrees, but it's going to be a trick. We're hoping the sun can help us out. We'll check satellite here in a few minutes to see that cloud cover, but we're planning on bringing a little more sunshine in on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday as high pressure will start to roll and take over the forecast. So we will have temperatures then on Saturday around 72, and then warming up into the mid to upper 70s later into the weekend. You'll also see that temperatures are a little bit cooler tonight and tomorrow night. We'll be finding those into the 40s. I actually have a frost advisory for a handful of our counties. We'll talk about that in a second. But as we take a check of current temperatures, we're slowly warming up. A lot of us are into the mid 60s. We're at 65 in Mount Pleasant, 64 across Saginaw County into Midland and around West Branch. We are up to 63 now in Houghton Lake, so that helps. Still at 59 though in Bad Axe, so the cloud cover definitely playing with temperatures there. We have 62 from Port Sanilac up to Port Hope, and we're at 63 in Oscoda. Those folks who are in Tawas going to be enjoying the weekend. We're at 62 there. and we have 65 in the Vehicle City. When we take a look at our satellite, you're going to find that we have lake effect cloud cover in the thumb. So because of those clouds, that is keeping us a little bit cooler. That's why Bad Axe, that sensor hardly getting into the 60s. But hopefully we can start to see a trend where that lake effect will start to die down a little bit on the cloud cover. Now, I don't see a lot of returns as far as rainfall, but still, with us seeing clouds in the setup that we have, an isolated shower, kind of a drizzle, even a sprinkle could be possible in the thumb coming across our lake effect zones. We've also, though, seen, because of the inner bay, quite a bit of cloud cover that's been able to kind of build and then drift along I-69. So a lot of our cameras that we've been checking around the Flint area have been looking a little bit cloudier rather than sunny. So we are finding that that lake effect is starting to expand a little bit further south. That's also the same that what we're seeing in northern lower. You're going to find that a little bit of lake effect is causing cloud cover in our northern counties, but also a little bit closer towards the bridge. So when we were looking at that bridge camera, that's where we were seeing those cumulus clouds come in. So because of the cloud cover, keeping things a little bit cooler for today. When we look at the hour-by-hour forecast, you will find that those clouds hopefully will start to dissipate as we get around 5, 6 o'clock. And then overnight, we'll have mostly clear conditions, which is going to allow us to cool it out quite a bit. As we go into our Saturday morning, I am going to watch for a little pocket of fog. You can kind of see it trying to develop there closer towards Saginaw County. I anticipate it's going to be very, very patchy if we do have that development, just because of the drier air that's going to start to come in. But we do have clear skies, so we can check some of the boxes for fog. But we will see throughout the day on Saturday still some afternoon cloud cover. Higher level clouds can sneak in, keeping it nice and dry though. And as we go into our Sunday, we're still going to find that we have some sunshine. So great weather for folks who are going to be staying in mid-Michigan, even coming across the entire state though with high pressure. And no matter if you're traveling this weekend, the forecast is looking pretty good for a lot of the top tourist destinations into the UP and into the lower peninsula. But since we were talking about those clear skies, I do want to first alert folks in Roscommon, Ogama, and Clare counties that we do have that frost advisory. So this is the first one here of this season. And the reason for those frost advisories is that we do still have vegetation that is not going to like if we do have temperatures into the 30s tonight, which is very much possible, because when we have clear skies, it kind of works like a blanket on your bed. Well, if you have the blanket on, you stay nice and warm. So when we have the cloud blanket overhead, we stay warmer. But if that blanket slides off the bed or those clouds disappear, then any heat from the day, that also disappears. So then we get a little bit cooler. So that's why we are going to be finding temperatures tonight into the 40s and for some of us into the 30s. So again, that's why we do have this frost advisory for Roscommon, Ogama, and Clare counties. If you have some potted plants that you can bring in, you're going to want to do that. If you have some flowers that are doing really well and they're still in the ground, if you maybe have some old bed sheets or something, anything to cover them up, maybe some burlap, anything to kind of help protect them from the frost, you're going to want to do that here tonight. Because when we look at low temperatures, I'm not surprised to see those advisories coming out. So you can see in West Branch, Houghton Lake, we're having temperatures into the mid 30s. I understand that that's not right at 32 degrees, but you also have to remember the climate right at the ground about 6 feet and down. That's that microclimate, and we can sometimes see temperatures even cooler than mid 30s. So then we have those freezing temperatures that kind of sneak in. So that's why we want folks to be mindful. If you still have those gardens that are going strong, just keep in mind you are going to find conditions that are going to potentially be frosty tonight. Then we still find a lot of us even around the water, the Thumb, Tri-Cities, along I-69, still seeing those 40s coming in. So it's definitely going to be a cooler night ahead. So if you are camping, keep that in mind that we are going to have the cooler nights. You'll even see that here in the next 4-day holiday stretch that we do have Friday night in the 40s, Saturday nights also into the 40s, maybe a degree or two warmer, but still it's going to be refreshing. So if you're in those campers, make sure you have those blankets on. If you're camping in a tent, that sleeping bag hopefully is nice and toasty. So just a reminder, we have some cooler evenings ahead. That's also what we want to remind sports fans. Tonight we have Michigan State. They're taking on Western Michigan University in East Lansing. So that game is going to be around 7 o'clock. For folks who are headed there to tailgate, we are going to have temperatures sitting into the mid 60s, about right where we're at. And then we'll still have mid-60s through about 7:30 as we get in settled and have that game started. But once the sun sets a little bit closer towards 8:30, we will find that temperatures are going to drop pretty quick after that. We just lose any solar radiation. So that's why we anticipate by 10:30, so about to the end of the game, maybe as they're walking to their car, loading up the tailgate, we'll have temperatures into the mid-50s. So it is going to be a little bit cooler. At least that wind's going to be light, but it is still going to be coming out of the northeast as it rolls in. Now, another big matchup on Saturday is going to be at the Big House in Ann Arbor. We have Michigan. They are going to be taking on New Mexico. For tailgating time frame, we are going to find temperatures into the 70s, so just a touch cooler warmer on Saturday, but we will see that those 70s don't hold. As we get a little bit closer towards kickoff, we'll be into the upper 60s, and then once that sun sets, we are going to have temperatures falling into the 50s. So some cooler nights for football, but it at least feels like football weather. I know sometimes here in week 1 it's very much a summer setup, but we're just kind of getting that fall feeling right now in week 1 of football. And of course, we're also talking about high school football, so that'll get going back on Friday next week, so a week from now, and we'll have those Friday night lights forecast as those games get a little bit closer. Now, as we look at the next 7 days, we are going to find today just in the 60s, 70s here for the weekend. I do have 80 degrees on Tuesday. We're going to make a run for it, but we will find it doesn't last all that long. So as the temperatures continue to build and warm and we have the sunshine here, we are going to find that does have to stop. So high pressure will slip out, and we're looking towards our next rain system around the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. So that's the next thing on our radar since the forecast is quiet. Temperatures on Wednesday, we do still have those into the 70s, and then we'll be into the 60s by Thursday, because that system for the middle of next week, it does have a cold front, and it does bring us some cooler conditions once again. So it looks like we're still going to be remaining here below average as we at least get into the beginning of September. I have been looking towards the middle of September. It looks like we should rebound, at least get closer towards some more average and seasonal weather. So it's very much refreshing and comfortable outside. If you've been needing a break from the heat, it looks like September is going to deliver on that. Now, just a quick update before I let you go here. We do still have our traffic that's nice and slow on 675. So if you are traveling, just know you are going to run into slowdowns in the Saginaw area on 75 going north. Southbound still in great shape. So we are hoping that drivers take it nice and easy. Make sure that you're safe getting there. Everybody wants a nice and safe holiday. So just have some patience. I know we always say pack your patience, but truly just give it some time to get there. We'll all make it to our destinations, and we want everybody to get there safe and sound. But I hope that you all have a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. On Monday, we will not be meeting here at the First Alert desk, but we will be back here on Tuesday. So as the kids are back to school and you're back to work, we are going to have another look at that forecast again at 2 o'clock. So you'll be able to join me at WNEM.com on the TV5 News app. We're also on WNEM Facebook and YouTube pages. And then you can also join us on your Roku or Fire Stick. We have separate channels there. And then we're on Android and Apple TV. So there's plenty of ways to connect with us. And of course, you can connect with TV5 through those devices here over the weekend for any holiday weekend headlines. But thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We'll see you here next week on Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.